Hello, my name is Natasha Rabsatt, and I am with,
Marsha Maxwell.
and we are with If These Lands Could Talk. If These Lands Could Talk is a pending 501(c) organization, and we'd like to tell you more about us.
First of all, there's a challenge that's in the world today. And we have very few people that are Black, Hispanic, Latinx, or Native that are taking part in tech companies. And although many tech companies have done a lot to try to increase this representation, we still see that the language, how people are expressing themselves, and also various aspects of Indigenous culture are often negatively portrayed by big tech. And so many of our initiatives are not being supported, whether Native and Indigenous or otherwise.
And so that brings us into sort of like who we are and what are we doing. So If These Lands Could Talk really came out of this idea that we are all over the world. There's different communities, and sometimes we're not aware of what's happening. We're not aware of the history. We're not aware of the challenges and the successes of different Native and Indigenous communities. We are a global ecosystem that is really postured to support authentic representation of Native and Indigenous people and communities around the world, but really with that digital technology, but on their terms. So we are really focused on ensuring that we are not pushing tech and ideas that our communities do not want. It is working with these communities on their terms of how they want to use tech, if they want to use tech. And we really believe in authenticity.
And also this will foster a positive social impact, not only for the Native and Indigenous communities, but also the other communities that impact upon them.
And so this brings us to our mission here. And really, we're all about supporting Native and Indigenous communities and organizations across the world. And this is using all of this new modern tech, including immersive tech, augmented and virtual realities, and other technologies to preserve the history of tribal lands and to support education for current and future generations.
And this immersive technologies, we realize is not something that many people know about or have experienced. So we're really trying to get it into the hands of people who know the land and know the stories they want to tell, and have them learn the technology in order to tell their own stories.
And so our values are really focused around humanity, and technology, sustainability, and many things. So these are our core values. We value humanity and inclusion. It's about belonging for us, for Native and Indigenous communities, sustainability, ensuring that whatever we're creating is having a positive social impact and impact on the world in the future and the environment. Authenticity. We believe in that authentic representation, people wanting to represent and display their identities the way that they want to.
And this is not just in one generation. It's very important that it's multi-generational approach. And so that the needs and the beliefs are important to everyone in the community. So making sure that we're trying to reach everyone. And also this education, we're really encouraging STEAM education or STEM education where it's needed. And also we're really trying to have the communities generate this within the community as opposed to it being an outside-in effort.
And so just a little bit more about who we are. So Dr. Maxwell and I are the co-founders for If These Lands Could Talk, and we are women of color, and we do come from, we have Afro-Indigenous roots within the Caribbean and different identity. And we've worked in various dynamic roles throughout our careers, involving technology, design, strategy, learning, many different things. And so this is why this is super important to us.
And we've also not just have experience in the Americas, but rather we've lived and worked around the world, working with Indigenous communities in Asia, Australia, Middle East, and America. So we have a deep knowledge of many different cultures.
And with that, we've definitely observed areas of opportunity and of challenge. And we want to be able to support those communities through the work that we're doing with If These Lands Could Talk. And so projected impact, there are many areas that we feel that we are able to support in, and these are a couple of them. Really focus on building that digital literacy. We recognize that part of the battle with technology is understanding what it is and how it is used, and building that literacy into eventually fluency. And so we see that as a really important part of our mission.
And it's really important that especially with immersive and all of these modern technologies, we're building out the fear factor. We want people to be familiar with it, comfortable with it in order to build that literacy. So getting it into the hands of the students and into the hands of the communities in order for them to play with it, learn it, and know how to mold it for their own purposes.
And with that, we're also invested in supporting building literacy also around the evolving concept of the metaverse. And so that will be critical, especially in the future as the world progresses even further with digital technology.
So we're using various technologies, and technology is a very broad term, not just the devices like your computer or your phone, but rather looking at new fields like augmented reality, which is when you can experience objects on your natural environment, mixed reality, where you're mixing the real and the artificial, and you're actually being able to manipulate these artificial or digital assets. Virtual reality, where you're fully immersed in a new experience, where you can turn, look around and everything around you's been digitally created. And also the metaverse, which is where it's incredibly immersive environment, where it's collaborative, it's open, it has 2D and 3D engagements, and not just thinking about goggles you wear on your head, but rather your phone or your computer. You can also enter and be a part of the metaverse. So all of these topics might sound very foreign to some people, but it's where the world is going. And we're really concerned about this digital divide becoming a digital chasm where if you don't get in now, you won't be able to understand and be a contributor, rather than having to have these same misrepresentations over and over again. So we need to get in there and kind of plant a stake in the land and be able to be a part of how we shape this new digital environment. We also are talking about emerging technologies such as artificial intelligence and robotics, Web 3.0, NFTs, blockchain. There's so many things that are happening in this emerging world, and we want to make sure that everyone has a part, as much of a part as they want to have in these new emerging and immersive technologies.
And one other part that I think is really important, especially as we look at Web3, we're in a Web 2.0 world right now, is that we're already starting to see a shift in mentality around how we use our data, right? And so it's not just only the technologies, but learning how to manage our privacy, manage how we interact with others. So moving towards that Web3 mentality, I think will also be critical in this journey that we're on.
And it's not so much, not only, protecting our data today, but looking at how we're going to be using it in the future. What things are what rights we may have to give up. And if we're not a part of that conversation, then again, we don't have a say in what happens. So these are, we're proposing our next steps, which is our If These Lands Could Talk Metaverse Meetup. And Natasha will talk more about that.
Sure. And really what this conversation will be about, we're looking at doing a meeting up next spring. This conversation will be about bringing Native and Indigenous change makers, allies, supporters, and other partners into a metaverse space where we can really brainstorm and think through different ways that we can be effective. And this is around building community, collaborating, meeting each other, working with each other, supporting each other, related to other land and technology related initiatives that are important to Native and Indigenous communities across the world. So we're really looking at that networking, sharing, brainstorming because many of us are doing different things across the globe. And so the idea is we can start to centralize and start thinking about those ideas together and allowing that to blossom.
And we're doing many different things, but some of us are, doubling up on efforts. So this meetup would be very important, a good time for us to start sharing what we're doing and making those nice, I guess, collaborative networks that we can kind of tackle these problems together. And one thing I'd like to bring out too is that, this is not a meetup where we have all the answers. This is something or some place where we're going to be voicing some, raising some questions, understanding what we are doing, how we can help one another to be more impactful and more creative in our approach, and also really just the first steps in establishing a presence, a meaningful presence in the metaverse.
And we are able to be contacted right now through email and through our website. We are a newer organization that's getting off the ground, and this initiative is really important to us. It's I would say part of our life's work, and really we're focused on supporting Native and Indigenous communities to continue on their quest towards that self-determination, and specifically with technologies and posturing for the future.
So thank you.
Thank you.